the Mercedes W15 feels like a car for the first time in 2 years. Things are sounding quite optimistic for the Mercedes team and their W15 as we head towards February's pre-season test in Bahrain, with both news of their launch date and comments coming from their simulator driver Anthony Davidson regarding his initial feedback on the W15. The Mercedes team plans to unveil their W15 on February the 14th at Silverstone, which will be 2 days after Aston Martin hosts its reveal at the very same venue, in what is being described as a digital event. As usual with the team, we can expect them to run their shakedown of the car on the very same day, as they have done so for the past however number of seasons now. The team will be hoping that both Lewis and George's initial response and feedback to their first sampling of the W15 is going to be a positive one, which would be in stark contrast to the first 2 years of Formula One's current ground effects era, with Hamilton being very vocal at last season's shakedown, saying the car felt exactly the same as its predecessor. Naturally, the team will be hoping that is very much the case, as this will be the first ground effect era car built around an entirely different concept to the past 2 years, having finally ditched their failed zero pods concept. And if we go off of what their sim driver Anthony Davidson has been reporting back to the engineers at Brackley, that should very much be the case. And this will no doubt bring a collective sigh of relief from the entire Brackley outfit after the past 2 years of continuous struggles that the team have experienced. Now, in terms of what the major aspects of the W15 needed to be addressed, I created a separate video on that very subject with the link in the description below and of course in the top right hand corner with the card. During a press event, Toto Wolff confirmed to the media that the Mercedes W15 feels like a car for the first time in 2 years, after having taken feedback from the last simulator session in the hands of Anthony Davidson. The car was described as feeling much more together than its troubled predecessors as well, which proved to be quite a stumbling block for both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, particularly from a corner-to-corner standpoint. With regards to Davidson, he was driving Melbourne, Toto said, and the car feels like a car for the first time in 2 years. Obviously, I would love this to correlate to the track, but we've seen in the last 2 years that this was not the case. Wolff had previously likened Mercedes' challenge of being able to catch and beat Red Bull during the current regulation cycle, which runs for 2 more seasons, to scaling Mount Everest and against the odds. Before we move on, if you're currently enjoying the content you're watching, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, as I will be doing a lot more of these types of videos, as well as covering all of the pre-season testing from the 21st to the 23rd of February, as well as, of course, the entire 2024 Formula One season. Right, let's get back to the main portion of the video. Now, within this very brief initial response Toto got from Anthony Davidson, there was one particular part of his comments that really caught my attention. And that was the fact that the session took place at Australia's Melbourne Park, which, if you cast your minds back to the last season, was one of the places the team were actually really competitive, especially when you consider this was before the move away from their zero pods concept. Both George and Lewis qualified in 2nd and 3rd respectively in a dry qualifying session, while Hamilton eventually came home to take P2 in the race after the red flag on the 55th lap. Now, in terms of the actual gap to the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, I think we could quite easily suggest Hamilton would have roughly finished some 10 to 15 seconds behind the RB19 without that very red flag. Now, why does that interest me? Well, it's for a couple of reasons. One of those is Melbourne Park is one of those places where the track is very bumpy and abrasive, with it not being an actual, for want of a better word, full-time track. It's it's a makeshift track set up in the middle of a park, and with that comes a very bumpy surface and abrasive surface at that. So tire wear is an issue. The bumps are always an issue, and that is something the Mercedes W14 and in particular its predecessor, the W13, had a lot of trouble handling. And so for them to go there and perform at an exceptionally high level, as well on top of all of that, this is before they even switched concept at the Monaco Grand Prix. So this is with the Zero Pods, which were deemed a failure by Toto Wolff at the first race at Bahrain, and said we're going to pan the whole concept already. So I think this is a very good indication of things to come for the team. If at a place where they were strong with such a underperforming car, for them to input all the data into the simulator and then for them to have Anthony Davidson come in and, drive around the track and give us feedback, and that feedback to, from the sounds of it, be pretty good. I think it's a sign of things are, going in the right direction for Mercedes, and I think that's not something we shouldn't look at or not understand. So that is why I was, initially interested a little bit more so than I would have been had it not been Melbourne Park or at a track before they moved design concepts. Right guys, that's the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like and leave comments down below. And I'll catch you all in another Formula 1 video.